eHub, Team Software's employee and customer self-service portal, puts powerful administration and operations data in the hands of your employees and customers. eHub is a website that allows you to deliver pay stubs and W-2s electronically to employees, saving time, paper, and postage. Arm your supervisors with budget comparison reports, timekeeping review tools, and employee HR data. Your customer can view invoices, scheduled work, quality assurance results, and much more. They can also request additional services. eHub includes a mobile app available on Android and Apple smartphones and tablets. On eHub Mobile, you can view and complete work tickets, view and complete inspections, request inventory supplies from the field, and view employee and job contact information. To learn more about eHub, please visit teamsoftware.com.
Welcome to our Cleancast. Thanks for joining us today. I've titled this one, The Role of a Fireman. You know, supervisors have to wear several hats in their job, don't they? They have to be an ambassador, they have to be a policeman, they have to be a coach. You can go on and on of all the jobs that a supervisor has to take and has to do, I should say. Well, today I'm going to talk about one particular role that the supervisor has to play, and that's the role of a fireman. If you're a supervisor looking at this today, you can probably relate. You know, you have to put out the fire, right? Well, what do I mean by that? Well, supervisor comes to work, and all of a sudden you've got 1, 2, 3, oh my goodness, I got 4 customers that have complained about poor service. I got to go put that fire out. Or I got a customer that wants to see us because we're in real trouble. Now, if you've never had a complaint, you're probably lying to me, right? Because someplace along the line, I'm sure that you've had a customer that's not been very happy with your work. It happens. It's part of the industry. It's part of the job. And it's part of the job of the supervisor to make sure that they can go put out that fire and make that customer happy again. That's the role, that's one of the hats that a good supervisor has to wear. Now, when I talk about putting out fires, I'm not only talking about, the customer that's unhappy, because that also entails another hat that a supervisor has, and that's one of the ambassador, being an ambassador for your company to the customer. But it also means that you have to know how to take care of emergencies. When do we normally call a fireman in our daily life? When we have a fire, when we have an emergency. We're waiting for them to take care of it, get us out of this mess. Put this fire out, and with the least amount of damage. Isn't that what we do when we call the fire department? That's what happens when they're calling you. Put out the fire with the least amount of damage. And that can entail a lot of special work. I'm talking about water leaks. As an example. I can give you an example that happened in our own company that happened on Christmas Eve a few years back. I got a call at home from a company that was not my customer. It was a high-rise building. I think it was 14 stories, 15 stories, and remember now, I was raised in the Midwest where a 15-story building is a pretty good-sized building. Nevertheless, it was a good potential account for me. And this prospect called me. I'd been calling on them every 3 months, wanting their business because it was a great account. And he called and he said, "Can you do an emergency cleanup water leak for me in my building?" And I said, "Of course I can. We'll get it done. But let me ask you, why are you not using the company that you have?" And he said, "Well, let me tell you about that." He said, "I went to their janitor's closet And there were 3 numbers in that janitor's closet for me to call in case of an emergency. He said, I called the first one, it was disconnected. I called the second one, it was answered, but he said, I no longer work with that company. The third one I called, there was no answer and no voice message or no answering machine. So he said, I made 3 calls to my current company, and they did not respond. Can you respond? I said, yes, I can. Now, it's Christmas Eve, and I had to get people out and pay them a bunch of money to get them out, but we got it done. We went and did that job for them. Well, I won't go into all of the details that we talked about when I talked to the prospect, but the reality of it was we got that account. He canceled it immediately, and we started that account. This was Christmas Eve. We started the account January the 1st, like 7 or 8 days later. And of course, we hustled that week after Christmas, but that was okay. We got the job. Never quarreled about the bill because it was a pretty hefty bill. But, because I had to pay people double and triple time to get them out on Christmas Eve. But nevertheless, we got the job done, and we got the customer. Now that may be a one-off type of example, but it worked. And the thing that it pointed out to me at that time, it was a great lesson. We made sure that our people went around to every building that we cleaned and had those emergency numbers in there and up to date. So let me ask you, if you're a supervisor, do you have all the numbers that are needed? So if you have to put out a fire, or maybe you have to use a fire extinguisher. Sometimes you got to use the fire extinguisher. Sometimes you even want to use it on the employees when they won't get their work done the way you want it done. But do you know what to do in case of an emergency? As a supervisor, do you know what to do? Do you have the numbers for the customer to call in case of an emergency so that they can go down the list and make sure, and always making sure that one of those numbers is a working number? And if in the event you should have someone leave your company, have you gone around to all your accounts and made sure that that number then is taken off of that list and replaced with the current number that they need to call? Always make sure that somebody that calls your fire department gets a number and that you can respond. Do you know what to do in case of an emergency? An emergency can be even, one of your employees is injured on the job. Do you know what you need to do? You got to put out that fire to get them medical care. And let me ask those of you that are owners that are watching this, are your supervisors trained in what to do? Have you got a system and know what to do and in what order that needs to be done, so that in the event you get one of these fires that needs to be put out, that everybody knows to do? Did you ever notice, a little off the side here, but do you ever notice that most emergencies end up on holidays? Never had so many of them that happened always on Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, Thanksgiving. Those are always the ones that I got hit with. I've had several on Thanksgiving morning, Thanksgiving Eve into Thanksgiving morning. I don't know what it is, but it just seems like that's when the emergencies occur. But are you ready? Do you know what to do as a supervisor? And those of you that are owners, have you got the process so that everybody in your company knows what to do? This is just a heads up. Know the role of the fireman. And if you don't know, find out where you need to, where you can get the information, and make sure that everyone in your company knows what needs to be done in the case of putting out a fire, whether it's cleaning up what isn't clean, keeping a customer happy, or in the case of an emergency that will occur, how do you do it? What do you do? What procedure do you follow? Just a heads up for you. Hope this has been helpful. Thanks for joining us today.